Hi everyone, it's Fiona here from fionamarks.com, and I am back with my friend and parent coach Amy Behrens, and we are having an off-the-cuff discussion today, having been prepared. It's one of those days where everything is happening all at the same time. So rather than miss out on speaking to each other, we're just going to talk live. But before we get into the topic, I just wanted to welcome Amy and invite her to introduce herself to everyone.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be here with Fiona. I'm a parent coach. I work in Massachusetts, but work with clients across the world on anything having to do with raising children from being babies up through their 20s and helping people find ways to gain clarity, connection, and confidence as parents.
Sounds great. All
Keep it
right.
brief. We can get into our discussion.
Yes, let me share the screen because this week we are speaking about another way that astrology can influence the way that we parent or our relationship with our children. And perhaps before you had children, you had heard, or everyone has heard a truism that children are a joy or that children are a blessing. But one can feel a bit of trepidation about having children because is that true? Is it not true? What's the experience actually going to be like? And Vedic astrology has a lovely, nuanced way of sharing that all all of us are having unique relationships with our children, and that for some people, children may very well be a blessing and a joy, and for some people they might be a lot of hard work and a sense of responsibility, and for other people they might be really enliven the spiritual area of the parent's life. We can have these mixed and different responses to becoming parents. So Amy, do you remember before you had children what you thought it was that you would feel about having children, and then what the reality has been like? Was there a difference between your preconceived idea and your experience of being a parent?
That's a good question. It's hard to remember in some ways, like what I felt like before, but I think I do remember I had this dream of I think doing lots of arts and crafts types of things. I'm a very artsy, craftsy types of person, so I think I had a dream of doing lots of creative things with my children. And then I also had a dream of training my children so that they would help out around the house so that we would all be I remember there was some book I loved when I was a child about these rabbits, and the mother rabbit had trained all of her children. So they all helped, and it was very cooperative. And I thought, like, that's how I'm going to be as a mother. I'm going to train my children so that we all work together to keep our house flowing. And I think you imagine that discipline will come really easily. And
Yes.
I think it's hard to imagine children being like drastically different than yourself. So I think
Yes.
that's one of the things that parenting does is it kind of cracks us open from our own experience to welcome in other experiences. And that's one of the blessings. And that cracking can be comfortable and uncomfortable depending on like the child that you have in front of you. I mean,
Yes.
usually there's always I think there's always some challenge. And when I say cracking open, I mean like in the most wonderful of ways. It's just like the light coming through a crack in the window and it
Yes.
illuminates the room.
Yes. 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 And do you, I mean, when I was putting this topic together, I was thinking about how um in some ways, like postnatal depression or the way that we feel about ourselves after we have children can be partly what I'm saying about an astrology here, or what you're bringing as well, that the expectations and the reality are so different, and that child that is actually born to us is so unique with their own challenges that we may never have anticipated, that there really is quite some adjustment in our identity uh, of ourselves, but also how do we contribute positively to that relationship?
Hmm. I know I was a middle school teacher before becoming a parent coach, and I thought of myself as a very patient person. And then my first daughter really helped me explore the reaches of my patience. And I remember just being like, how was I so patient as a teacher when I am feeling so enraged by certain, because I think you also experience rage as a parent, as like when you can't make, and what it is coming face to face with the fact that you cannot make another person do what you want them to do. Like you can't make them go to sleep, you can't make them eat, you can't make them do, a number of different things. And I think there's this false idea that you can just, the children should be obedient, and you say something, they'll just do it. I mean, I work with parents on this all the time because I think that's like when they're in that stage of like awakening, like, oh, and so like for me, I feel like figuring out like what is your child's needs and what do they need you to be helping them understand, what do they need you to understand about what they need, and then you can work with them and collaborate with them. But I think if you are stuck in like, you will do what I want you to do, you're going to have some children who are fine to go along with that, and you're going to have other children who are like, no, I will not. And then it becomes a power struggle. And so when you have a child who has more of a vision for themselves that's different than yours, then you have to learn how to work with them. And it's hard.
Exactly. It's very real. And what I like about the Vedic astrology approach is that um, it's not actually attributing that to your children. It's actually saying that it's in your own energetic makeup, that there are lessons or experiences or karmas that are there for you when you have children. If you, as you said, open that crack and allow that light to come into your life, then your own chart reveals what you're meant to be learning from this experience, or where your learning challenges are going to be. So I also like that, because I think sometimes we can think it's a difficult child, or it's something about that that kid, that other person. And astrology is really good at saying, well, actually it's right here in your chart. This is a lesson that is here for you to, if you want to. You've enrolled, would you like to take the course? Because the syllabus is ready.
Well, I remember when I was a new teacher, I remember I had a couple of students who were really hard for me. And I remember my mentor teacher saying to me, those are your guardian angels, because they are the ones who are here to help you grow as a teacher, because it's not easy with them. And so if you can learn how to teach those children, like, you're going to be a better teacher. And I think which is kind of aligning with what you're saying. Like, there may be certain lessons that I need to learn, like in my journey as a human being, that are, written in the stars, or just, part of my path. And so how is this child guiding me in that direction of my growth?
Yeah. Yeah. And I
Maybe
think that's the other thing that I love about Vedic astrology, is helping us come to acceptance about the dynamic that we're in, that it's not that there's something wrong with me. It's not that there's something wrong with the child, or that there's something wrong with the family. This is exactly the territory to learn the lessons that are perfect for me to be experiencing in this lifetime. And it kind of puts us in that place of stillness. We're not fighting against what we think shouldn't be there,
Mhm, mhm,
but we're in a place of, the awe of the balance of life, that if we can accept that there's an organizing power, then everything is exactly where it's supposed to be. So this territory right now that seems really dry, or really muddy, or really rocky, or really bleak, this is correct. This is where I'm supposed to be engaging, and this will bring out my best. So I love how astrology orientates people to that I don't know, that stillness of,
mhm.
the acceptance of the reality.
So I'm thinking of a parent who I was speaking with yesterday, who has a child who is very challenging for her, who's a very demanding little boy. Um, and I think her response would be like, okay, I can accept that I have this child, but like, what do I do? Like, when he's driving me crazy. um, and I'm helping her to see how she needs to align with him. But also, he needs boundaries, because I think he's been let to um, push and receive a response. And so part of what she might be having to learn is to set boundaries. And I think I had to learn this also, because I think the idea of imposing boundaries on others was hard for me because I want to
Yeah.
let people flow and do what they want. But when you do that with a child, a strong-willed child, then they can end up walking, like it can feel like they're walking all over you or directing you, and that doesn't feel very empowering as a parent. And so, I think that's one of the things that one of my children has really helped me learn is like that I do have to set boundaries and I have to be able to weather her storm because she may
Yep.
not like it and she's going to have a big reaction, but that I'm doing this out of love for her and safety, and that I just have to weather her storm, which is her also having to come to terms with things not working out the way she wants them to work out sometimes. And I think for the same mother who I'm speaking of, she has to learn to weather her son's storms and to help him learn to that everything can't go his way if he makes a big bluster about it. So it's an interesting perspective that this might be part of my path.
Yeah, definitely. And how else would one learn those lessons? They have to be kind of strong and tough. Otherwise, like you say, you're not the kind of person that wants to impose your will on somebody else. So, being a parent is a great way to be called to something that you never even imagined that you were capable of doing, because
Right,
we'll do anything for our children. That's the thing. They bring out, things that we didn't even know that we had.
right, right.
Yeah.
And and have you found with people who you have coached, like from an astrological perspective, that them understanding where they are, that like that this is part of what's like in their chart
Yeah.
is helping them, and how does that help them?
Yeah, I think because sometimes we're pushing against the situation rather than being in the situation. It changes our stance from being um no, or like crossed arms, this is not right, I don't want to, I don't like this, it's to okay, this is how it is. So then how will I progress? I guess it brings us into reality. But I also
Yeah.
see it, and I wonder whether you see this as well, that when we have two parent families, that though that each parent is also having their own battles or their own lessons that they're learning with the same child. So and that's also what I love, because it's not necessarily that the child is the problem or the cause of these things, but one parent has one lesson to learn and another parent has a different lesson to learn.
Oh, yeah, that's really interesting to think about.
Yeah. So if we take it like from astrology point of view, we look at some of these combinations, like for a Taurus or Scorpio ascendant, children are just really naturally linked with responsibilities. So we might expect our children to be responsible. Like that might be a really important value that it just goes without saying, that I have to build into my children a sense of, that, they've got things that they need to do and they have to take responsibility for them. Or we may feel very responsible for our own children. It's something that it occupies our mind, it occupies our expenses, everything that we're doing is this responsibility to look after the children. But then you could imagine that, like, right next to that, the Gemini and Sagittarius ascendant, that the children are naturally linked with like this transcendent spiritual energy that is almost ethereal. And those two parents are having the one child, with one parent feeling these, we have to, this child really has to become more responsible, and the other parent having a very loose and ethereal relationship, very spiritual, everything's going to be okay, or that the things are evolving as they should. And this is the same child, so the parents are having their own association with the children.
You're making me think about the parenting styles and how this aligns with that because for the parenting styles, you could look at one as being care and nurturance, like that's like a top value. Another one is personal guidance, like the more interior, like that would be more the transcendent spiritual, to look within type of messaging. And then there's the reason and expectation, which is more the responsibility and like thinking through. And then let's see, recent expectations, and then what's the other one? Oh, practicality and results is the other one. And that parent is more just thinking very logistically about what has to happen. Um, and depending on which orientation you tend, like I want, it'd be interesting to look at people's charts and
Yes,
then see how does that line up.
the
That'd
crossover.
be fascinating.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And I think it helps me as I co-parent to recognize that my co-parent is having their own journey with that
Yes.
child, that and the child is having their own journey with that parent that might be quite different to mine. And,
Mhm.
wanting to support your co-parent, um, even though their journey is different to yours, and wanting your co-parent to support your journey. So it's kind of be acknowledgement that, this is a rich path that we're walking, and the perspective that my co-parent is seeing and my perspective are both valid.
Right.
And even more than that, that's where the beauty of astrology or any of these things is that it's perfect for the child, and some children are obviously going to be raised with parents who've got very similar
Right.
parenting styles or astrological associations. And some children are raised with, almost polar opposite parents who are at either end of the extreme. But then that would be exactly correct in that child's chart, that they need that for whatever karma they're going to experience in this lifetime. They need that stimulation of these different uh,
Right.
associations. So yeah, I just think it brings a richness, it brings a nuance, and it allows us to detach a little bit from the heat of the situation, the actual intensity of the people, and draw back just a bit to look at the overall layout of what dynamics are really going on here, and be respectful of all the members of the family and their unique dynamics. So
Mhm.
yeah, so
I
I
think.
found this really insightful, helpful as a parent and as a coach.
Mhm.
And maybe it goes
That's
back to
really.
what you, sorry, I keep cutting you, but to what you said originally, that no one knows what to expect from becoming a parent, and you know that is part of the experience, is part of the wonder, and that there's no need for us to question our own. That's what I like about astrology. There's no need for us to question that our unique experience of being a parent is right or wrong. It is exactly our experience of being a parent, and that other parents find it demanding or easy, or it's about boundary setting, or it's about freedoms, or that there's just no one rule that applies. So yeah, I love all of that.
Me too. And I just wrote a blog, I guess it was last week, about the 4 C's of conscious parenting, which I
Mm,
came up with as being calm, clear, um, sorry, yeah, calm, clear, connect, and then collaborate.
yeah.
And this is fitting with that, and that like the calming is sort of the acceptance of what is in this moment, and just kind of coming into this moment like, okay, I've got 3 children, I'm trying to get outside into the snow, and they're hot, and one of them is like, one's flinging around his snow pants, the other one is like trying to take off, like just to be in the moment, just be like, wow, like this is crazy right now,
Yep.
and here I am. And then like the clear is like, what needs to happen right now? Like I need to get them into the car, or I need to get them to school, or whatever the thing is. And then like connecting, like seeing them for exactly where they are. Like, you look like you have a lot of energy as you're flinging your snow pants around, and you look like you're too hot, and you look like you just need to get out there and play in the snow. And then, as you acknowledge where they are, and I am as your parent, and freaking out because I need to get you guys to school. So, and then you collaborate with them. Like, why don't you go outside? And then when your brother has his snow pants on him, like, I'm going to send him outside. And then, and then I'm going to pick up your sister and bring her, and we're going to get in the car. And
Yep.
having like just sort of coming into the moment and
Yep.
acknowledging the facts of the situation, that acceptance piece. And like, that's not such an astrological viewpoint, but there's similar
Oh,
energy of just
definitely.
in this moment, and what do I need to do right now, where am I going, what do they need, and then let's work together to grow to through this moment. And it's a
Yes.
helpful way, I think, of handling those moments I had another mother who had a child. One child wanted to go inside, and the other child was running down the street because he was mad about something. And she was like, "What do I do? Like, do I run after the child, but then leave the other one feeling like abandoned?" And so we did decide that safety was the most important thing. And so running after that child, but then honoring like that he was really frustrated, and but then communicating to the first one, like, "I'm going to be right back. I'm going to help your brother, like dash, get him, and then bring him back." But like we have these moments, and like I think having the awareness is our like preserving their safety is our number one job as their parent, and then connecting with them and helping them to be able to process their emotions. Because like it's situations like that where it's just you can feel at loose ends as to how to manage.
Definitely, and I think that that is what parenting is. It's a full on, intense, multisensory, multidisciplinary experience at all times, and yeah,
Yes.
there's no textbook for that, um, and that's, you know, that's also what's great about parenting, because something on that instinctual level works or doesn't work, and we get to know ourselves under those kind of strains that you don't necessarily get to see when you're a competent office worker or, you know, in your adult space. So yeah, Amy, I'm really aware that we're running out of time today. However, we could speak about this for much longer. I wanted to thank you for being here. Let us just get us both back on screen. Thank you for being here with me and speaking off the cuff about our own unique journeys as parents and what we might be learning. And I'm really looking forward to talking to you again next time we get together about how parenting and astrology can benefit each other.
Excellent. I look forward to it. Thank you, Fiona. It was a
You're
joy.
welcome, Amy. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.